Devin Haney, you know, Conor Ben. Like, there's a lot of fights that like Shakur can like be involved in and beat all these dudes, man. Beat all of them. Has a chance of beating all of them, right? And solidifying, you know, his mark in, you know, back when, you know, I was helping somewhat mentoring Terrence Crawford. You know, Terrence Crawford surpassed everything I done did and more. Interesting enough, Terrence Crawford mentored Shakur, and Terrence Crawford is on Mount Rushmore. Yeah, he is for sure. But I feel like Shakur, just like Crawford was with me, Shakur has the ability to pass Terrence Crawford. Yo, Temp Desert Storm Bradley, you already know the rest. Yo, guys, I'm getting a lot of requests for, you know, the Keyshawn and Ortiz, you know, break down our thoughts after the fight, post-fight thoughts. I haven't looked at that fight yet. As soon as I look at it, I swear I'll do a breakdown on it. I heard Keyshawn look very, you know, impressive. Also want to do one on Shushu Carrington. But congratulations to both those guys. But man, the reason for this video, Haney might be the guy that can compete and beat you know, Shakur Stevenson. But I would never bet against Shakur, man. I think defensively,
Tim Bradley is delivering a major reality check to the lightweight boxing division, and he is being completely blunt. He has issued a straightforward warning to Gervonta Davis and Devin Haney that their time as champions is nearly over. Bradley states the true uncrowned king has now appeared, and he is pointing to the fear he thinks is preventing the current title holders from accepting a fight. This is more than mere analysis, it is a prediction. Bradley asserts that Shakur Stevenson intends to claim every championship belt.
Did it change your assessment about that fight at all? You've always picked Shakur.
Yeah. Yes. It somewhat has, man. And I say he fights the level of his competition, you know, and you can say, oh, there's some contradictory going on now, but it just, I still got Shakur, but there is still like, it's like, I can see a way, I can see a path to where Tank can beat him. I can see it. I can see a path in a way that I believe that Tank can catch him and hurt him and knock him out. You know, I'm not gonna give that away. However, I can see the path. I can see a path, man. Well, I could talk about it. I mean, it's the fact that he's not, when you put heat on him, he's so damn defensive that he don't throw punches. There's nothing in return. So you're able to mount an attack on him and let your hands go, and you're not going to receive any counter punches coming back. You know, I think Tank sees that. I think Tank knows that. So as long as those counters don't come, Tank's gonna be in there. You know, as long as he's not willing to risk getting caught, Tank's gonna be in the fight. Period. And if he starts moving back on his bicycle and Tank's coming forward, Tank gonna be the aggressor. That's what's gonna happen. So I can see Tank actually winning the fight now when I thought that he couldn't, on the scorecards, and not knocking out Shakur because of this. You know?
The most explosive section of this analysis targets Gervonta Tank Davis directly. For years, the story has painted Tank as the sport's top earner, its main attraction, and the fighter in control. Bradley completely reverses that narrative, calling the Baltimore power puncher a 30-year-old prospect. It is a severe label, yet the reasoning supporting it is merciless. The claim is that Davis's management has meticulously managed his career to sidestep skilled technical fighters who pose high risk with little reward and could defeat him. Bradley no longer accepts the justification about seeking lucrative fights. He states it clearly. Tank is afraid. He is not afraid of physical harm but of being thoroughly outboxed. The The gossip spreading on forums and social media is that Tank is attempting to stall until Shakur fades, hoping the younger star loses focus or changes weight classes, because facing Shakur risks revealing the flaws in Tank's style that his raw power cannot conceal.
And Al probably told Gervonta Davis, man, you don't need that guy, Shakur Stevenson, man. You don't need that guy. Hey, look, I told Spence he didn't need Crawford. Now, you disobeyed me. You saw what happened. You saw what happened with Spence. Now, you disobey me. Now, I'm not saying he's going to knock out. I'm not saying he's going to knock out. Shakur going to knock out Tank. But Shakur can beat him. And Al, PBC know that. They know it. You know, so I think what Tank is doing, he's listening to what he's been told to him. He listening. I don't think it's a thing of him being afraid, man. I don't think it's a guy being afraid, man. You know, I hear a lot of people, you know, talking about the zestiness of Tank. And, you know, on another note, I hear him talking about the zestiness, and, you know, I saw the little purse he had, and I saw the, you know, the little nail polish and stuff he had. You know what I'm saying? I see all of that. Oh yeah. But look. Dennis Rodman, one of the coldest brothers on the planet. Coldest. Crazy as all hell. Straight nut. You know what I'm saying? He'll bang you and your girlfriend or your wife.
The situation with Devin Haney is viewed differently, as where Davis is charged with avoidance, Haney is judged as simply not good enough. Many experts consider Haney a brilliant technician, but Bradley perceives a skill limit for him that Stevenson does not have. When discussing potential fights, Bradley was very direct. He believes both Davis and Stevenson would defeat Haney. This places the reigning champion in a difficult spot, possessing titles, but not genuine intimidation. The key distinction in this fresh critique is supreme skill. Stevenson has a degree of defensive genius and fight intelligence that Haney, despite his clear ability, has not yet achieved. Haney can be visibly damaged, as recent bouts have shown, yet Stevenson stays a mystery, a complicated problem the current title holders do not appear willing to figure out.
But what would like a Devin and Shakur fight look like? You know, you got Shakur and Tio possibly fighting. I mean, it seems like now is the time for these guys to finally get in the ring.
Yes, it is. And, you know, off the rip, I'm just going to let y'all know right now, I would never bet against Shakur Stevenson. I'm letting y'all know off the rip, you know. Haney might be the guy that can compete and beat you know, Shakur Stevenson, but I would never bet against Shakur, man. I think defensively, I think he's a brilliant boxer. I don't think anybody can outthink him. Or outposition him, man. You know, I just think he's just too slick, too hard, really hard to figure out. So, but yeah, hey, that's why we do the fights, right? That's why we do the fights. I said that, right? I said that Norman can beat Haney, and Haney went in there and, you know, did his thing against him. So, you know, just because I said don't mean it's true.
To grasp Bradley's certainty in this forecast, you must examine the history. This is the student outperforming the teacher. Bradley highlighted a compelling comparison recently that gives this feud a legendary quality. He remembered how he once guided Terrence "Bud" Crawford. In time, Crawford did not merely learn from him, he exceeded him, reaching legendary status and overshadowing Bradley's own career. Now that pattern is happening again. Crawford has been the trainer for Shakur Stevenson. Bradley forecasts that Shakur will accomplish the very same thing to Bud. It is a daring statement that Shakur will ultimately surpass the fighter now considered among the absolute best in boxing history. This is not only about ability, it is about fate. Bradley perceives a growth in Shakur that indicates we have not yet witnessed his full potential.
I'm undisputed, and, you know, going up to, you know, that many weight classes, not from that standpoint. You know, he already has 4 weight classes. Crawford is a 5-weight division champion. But in a sense of having the opportunities that Crawford didn't have. You know, Crawford would have been even bigger than what he is if the politics didn't play into the sport at the time. And now that, you know, you have guys like Turki Al-Sheikh that are able to bridge that gap between promoters and, you know, make these big fights happen. You know, imagine if Turki was around when Crawford was on his climb. You know, when Crawford couldn't get those big fights with like Thurman and Danny Garcia and Ugas, and you know, he got it later with Sean Porter, but it was later. But imagine if Crawford was able to have that run, and you know, Earl Spence, Danny Garcia, Ugas, Keith Thurman, you know, the list goes on. If he would have had all those guys on his ledger, imagine how big Crawford would be. He would be even bigger than what he is today.
A major cause for this unavoidable change is a transformation in boxing politics, or more precisely their end. For many years, promoters used broadcaster disputes and promotional company rivalries as excuses to shelter their fighters from risky bouts. Crawford missed his peak years since he could not secure fights against opponents like Keith Thurman or Danny Garcia blocked by those political barriers, but those barriers are now falling apart. Bradley identifies the rise of Turki Alashik and the enormous Saudi Arabian funding in boxing as the pivotal shift. The financial offers are now so large they overcome every division. Davis and Haney can no longer use their promoters as an excuse. If the funding is presented by the Riyadh season, the bout must occur. Stevenson is reaching his peak during a time when the top boxers must face each other. Therefore, the safeguards that protected past champions will not protect the present ones.
With these fighters hovering around 135, these talented fighters hovering around 135, 130, you know, guys like, you know, Oshaki Foster, like I mentioned, going to go up to 135. He's big enough to go to 135. You know, guys like Roach as well, you know, Lamont Roach, guys like Abdullah Mason. Let's see who else. Gary Antoine Russell, Dalton Smith, shoot, I mean, Brian Garcia, Devin Haney, you know, Conor Benn. Like, there's a lot of fights that like Shakur can like be involved in and beat all these dudes, man. Beat all of them. Has a chance of beating all of them, right? And solidifying, you know, his mark in the sport, you know, being, you know, the great of his generation. You know, when Crawford left, I told y'all that, you know, Shakur was the next guy on the throne. And I truly wholeheartedly still believe that. I know there's guys that has worked with Shakur in the past that swear up and down. Oh, shoot, I even forgot Murataya is there too. Guys like Andy Cruz. I mean, there's a lot of talented guys that people respect that Shakur has the ability to freaking challenge. Man, now imagine him fighting all those guys and putting that on his resume, man. We talking about legendary status. We talking about Mount Rushmore type of stuff, you know, because, you know, all these guys are the elite guys of this generation and people respect them. And if Shakur was to beat them, you know, he's going to definitely make his mark heavy in the sport and become extremely popular.
Critics frequently cite Stevenson's method as his greatest flaw, labeling it dull or too cautious. They argue he misses the exciting appeal needed to lead the sport. Bradley rejects this by likening him to the supreme defensive expert Floyd Mayweather. Fans did not purchase Mayweather fights expecting a wild slugfest. They bought them hoping to witness someone finally solve the puzzle. Millions paid hoping to see Floyd defeated, and that process made him the largest star ever. Stevenson is cut from that identical fabric. Years ago, following an unexciting win, Stevenson told Bradley directly, "I will be a superstar. It does not matter what you say." He understood his extraordinary skill would eventually compel global interest. Boring is merely a casual fan's term for unstoppable. When you are striking an opponent freely, and they cannot reach you, that is not evasion, that is total control.
You know, when I had a brief conversation with Shakur, you know, one of the things that he told me was that he was going to be a superstar in the game. You know, he told me straight to my face, it don't matter what you say or what you think, like, I'm going to be a superstar in the game. And for me, you know, just looking in, I was like, okay, for you to be a superstar in the game, you got to show up and show the hell out, man. Because it was, when we had the conversation with him, was after a lackluster performance. And then I I think it was like right before he fought Herring. I had a conversation with him, and that's when he told me. And at first I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it at first because I'm like, bro, like if you continue to give these type of dog performances, no one's gonna want to see you. You know, so the truth of the matter is that, you know, I was wrong and he was right. You know, say what you want to say about Shakur, his style and what he does and this and that. Like, people still want to see him fight because there's something behind the brilliance, just like whether you want to see him lose or whether want to see him win. It don't matter.
Yet this is not simply an excited speech from Bradley, as his critique contains a dual caution that Stevenson must consider. While he feels Stevenson is the better technician, Bradley has conceded that Gervonta Davis offers the most significant danger to that future greatness. It is the timeless clash of a complete boxer against a single devastating punch. Bradley has previously stated that Stevenson cannot risk one error against Davis. You could dominate 11 rounds against him, lose concentration for one moment in the final round, and then find yourself knocked out on the canvas. This recognition introduces a serious tension to the story. Bradley is not claiming Stevenson will defeat Davis easily. He is stating Stevenson possesses the skills to defuse the explosive power if he executes perfectly without a single fault. It represents the highest stakes strategic battle, and it is the sole matchup that everyone is waiting to witness.
You called him?
Yes, I called him. I knew him ever since he was a young pup.
You're young and Shakur Stevenson, dominant performance against Teofimo Lopez. Mm-hmm. What did you see?
What I see? I see greatness, man. I see greatness. Shakur practically beat him with one hand, man. That jab, man. Most important hand you have, man. You know? And he looked good doing it, sharp. You know what I mean? Distance. He did everything, man. He did everything right, man.
A lot of people thought it would be a tough fight because Teo's athletic, Teo's experienced, he's fought on a high level. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they were critical of Shakur. Oh, he ain't fought nobody and this and that. Yeah. He made Teo look like everybody else.
Made him look like an amateur. Made him look like an amateur. Yes.
Now, technically, what did you see? Right? Where did Teo go wrong in that fight?
Where he went wrong?
Yeah.
Fighting Shakur. That's where he went wrong. Fighting Shakur. I knew he just running his mouth. He just was talking, man. I knew that from the beginning. Even the time when he talking about he wanted to fight Boots. Boots would have stopped him. Fighting his first or second round fight would have stopped him.
Do you think Shakur could have gotten stopped?
Oh yeah. Shakur, no, he could have got stopped too, but Shakur hurt his left hand. His left hand was hurt. If you notice, he was using that jab a lot.
Yeah, jab and then the hook.
And he threw the left hand every now and then. Because I was screaming out. Everybody said they heard me in Philly.
Yo, we can hear you on the TV.
Yo. Yeah. That's my young buck. You know what I mean? And I was telling him throw that straight left hand. Then I noticed when he did throw it, he wasn't throwing it real hard. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But he looked spectacular, man. You know what I mean? He can't ask for nothing more, man. And with me, I don't care about what people say, man. They always want to talk about you and say, oh, he should have did this, should have did that. He did everything.
All right, everyone. Stay tuned for the latest in boxing news, highlights, events, and stories. Subscribe to Glove Lord and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Be sure to watch our other videos too. Until next time, take care and stay safe.